This is the Torque Test channel. We spent the last year testing over 150 different tools and recording data from over 1,350 different tests, all thanks to you guys who make this possible by watching videos like these, clicking on things, and even purchasing our super sweet t-shirts. Here are the top 5 most powerful half-inch impacts in high torques using any and every battery we could get our hands on, with some new data to shake things up in never-before-seen testing. Number 5. The Milwaukee 2767-20 high torque. Despite still rocking Milwaukee's last-gen designs when it comes to appearance, the M18 2767 is still sporting 2022 levels of power. It's no surprise why we and seemingly everyone else compare impact wrenches to it to see if they really are powerful or not. We'll be using our average power rank chart today to rank these tools, and coming in at number 5 in place with up to 629 foot-pounds per second across a 15-second run using an HD 12.0 battery, the Milwaukee deserves to be on this list as much or more than any other. In peak torque, it's punched up its numbers from 778 to 801 foot-pounds depending on the battery, with some bigger gains out the hole that would be useful on some rust with these high-output batteries. The most impressive numbers this gun makes are always in forward, but its reverse numbers are only usually about 10 to 15 foot-pounds behind that. Moreover, we found in our Force Science episode 11 that even a used one makes the same power as a new one. You guys, of course, rightly pointed out that tossing an impact around doesn't equate to internal wear and tear, but this guy was several years worth of use old as well, but perhaps something less easily demonstrated for you on camera. We look forward to a future Gen 3 high torque, but until then, this guy is holding it down among the 33 different models in this category we've tested just fine in 5th. Number 4. If you thought the M18 was long in the tooth, let me introduce you to this blast from the past, the Ingersoll Ran 2235 TiMax. The TiMax is not new, but does have a reputation for being a powerhouse half-inch, and as we found all the way back in episode 27, there's a reason for that and a reason why cordless isn't the end-all be-all when it comes to power nowadays. The IR made 780 foot-pounds peak torque, which at the time situated it close to the top, but has dropped down a bit since. But it wasn't until we calculated our average power metric that we saw what a standout the TiMax is, making for 632 foot-pounds per second across a run, its low-end grunt making it shoot up to the charts compared to some of the others. Even crazier, we found that when you turn up the juice on this guy, like in our best case scenario test, but even further, it likes that even more. 165 PSI allowed this gun to climb up to 820 foot-pounds of peak torque, a test we haven't replicated enough to show with the rest of the list, but considering these guns are known for their reliability, and turning up that line pressure is a simple trick in a pinch that costs $0, it's a nice one to have in the old back pocket, especially considering this one is usually a cool $270, meaning that back pocket might be empty, so it's more than welcome. Number 3. To determine number 3, we're going to have to employ some help in the form of the Ridgid Octane 9 amp hour battery loaned to us by friend of the channel Steven with a PH. Until now, we've been using this ever impressive Ridgid with a 3 amp hour octane battery because, well, that one has 21700 cells and it's pretty good. We found its performance on average to be that of a 6 amp hour octane when we were using the mid torque, because that 6 amp hour octane is using 18650 cells. But Ridgid did offer a 9 amp hour octane. When we recently tested the new Ryobi, made by the same folks at TTI with their 9 amp hour, and it made a smoking difference, we knew we had to get our hands on this hard to find artifact to find out. Since the Ridgid is currently in 3rd by only 1 point on the average power rank list, and recently bumped down by expensive latecomers, we felt we couldn't truly rank all these tools today without trying this 9 amp hour guy first. So here's that versus previous BCS run in an all new never before seen test. $834 up from $791. Well into the 800s now. Not as huge a jump as that Ryobi made, but I reckon we're on the upper end of what a cordless this size can do right now. The increase definitely makes this Ridgid climb a spot. So our true number 3 is the Astro Thrower 1894. Only a second ago knocked down a peg, but still coming in hot with 645 foot-pounds per second and 825 foot-pounds peak, situated still at the top of our main rank chart, thanks in part to 2 things. One, its price of around $190. at least when it's in stock. Hopefully 2022 will be better, sorry about that. And size. Our metric taking into account length, which is usually the limiting factor for where we can fit an impact, and this guy using all of its 6.7 inches in a very chunky sort of Makita-like fashion, with its internals more resembling mini 3/4 inch drive parts than large 1/2 inch ones. You'll need some air to feed it in a decent amount as suggested by its inlet made for 3/8 fittings and preference for 1/2 inch air hoses, which I believe we haven't ranked this new one with yet. She'll sometimes get frosty and need some trigger break-in, but for the price, power, and size, things that we can quantify, she's certainly up there. Number 2, that leaves the Ridgid high torque in number 2. Just sneaking in with that 9 amp hour octane battery, that's all but disappeared from the market now. While 9 amp hour batteries are usually not cheap, the Ridgid's max output line, which we're not in love with yet, is getting a 21700 cell 8 amp hour, sort of like the XC 8.0, so we'll await judgment on that. This Ridgid has been sold at retail for just $229. The most powerful high torque sold at retail is also one of the most affordable. This one is all but gone now. Check the link below to make sure. Being replaced shortly by the R86212B, which we're less than pleased about based on what we know so far. But it does prove that insane power levels of high torque power are possible at prices like this. Maybe a price that led them to give it the axe, we're not sure. But hope remains nonetheless for a bright future in orange, red, whatever color it shows up in, you'll see it here. Number 1. In number 1.2, we have the Snapon CT9080. It's $540 bare, $972 a kit, and might leave your right arm with PTSD, but this ranked list is all about power, and power this guy has coming out of its exhaust ports. If you want to make power like top the charts power and cordless, you need a large brushless motor and a ball and cam impact mechanism with some serious weight and spring size behind it. Snap-on understood that math and applied the formula in a bolt-terrifying 869 foot-pounds peak and 696 foot-pounds per second on average across a run, making it tied in fact with the number 1.1 placed Matco 20-volt Infinium, also coming in at exactly 696. But no kissing your sister disappointment in today's episode. This Matco gets placed atop by us for a few reasons. A, making higher power numbers overall with 894 peak, basically 900 foot-pounds, and taking second overall with a slightly lower price point, shorter length, and an honest max torque figure, even if their breakaway torque claims are sky high, which we, and well, no one else is able to precisely measure, but we might imagine could be bested by that Snap-on if it had the chance. The Matco gun is a better tool to hold every day. The weight is placed over your hand in a better sort of angled direction. Its wide grip affords you more leverage to fight with the gun, and the gun doesn't really want to fight you, earning a much lower wrist-breaking score than any of the cordless on the list today. And it's got these 4 LEDs on the front cover, which in high torques is sort of rare these days. But if we're honest, all the tools on the list today are winners. It probably comes down to whatever batteries you already have, which we understand, but those beans got to be counted by someone, and we're that channel. A special honorable mention goes out to the IR 1500 foot-pound rated cordless, which really does deliver huge unapologetic power, but for battery reasons or others, we're not really sure, it was not able to climb up as high as the others in longer tests. Just based on how much it beats up our test sockets alone, though, we can no doubt vouch for its force per blow impacting that aerosolizes rust with the best of them. If you think we missed out on some winner that we haven't tested yet, let us know in the comments so we can add them to the arsenal, or even loan us yours so it gets included on future episodes. Thank you for watching.